Life comes at you fast. One day you're young and hopeful, full of dreams and plans for your future. You just finished college and you can see yourself achieving all of your goals. You feel like you can accomplish anything and everything you set your mind to. The world is yours. But sooner or later, reality kicks in. You move out on your own, you realize that achieving your dreams is much easier said than done, and inevitably you have to get a job if you don't want bills to start piling up. But a job is cool, right? I mean, you're making some money, your bills are paid, you're comfortable. And as you get more involved in your career, you tuck your aspirations away for the future. You tell yourself, I'll get to them one day. Then before you know it, a ton of time has passed. You spent 8 hours a day, 5 days a week for the last several years working on something that you're not even passionate about, purely out of necessity. And by this point, you're so deep into it that you're not even sure what else you can do. I mean, starting over feels crazy, but you never really had a chance to figure out what it is you wanted to do because you just had to do something for work, right? Is this resonating with you? Because I planned all this out, and even as I'm saying that, I'm like, damn, this is crazy. So let me know if you feel this down in the comments. Anyway, let me tell you a quick story. A couple of weeks ago, my wife and I went to one of her best friend's college graduation. After the ceremony, we all went back to her friend's house for a little get together and just to celebrate her accomplishment. You know, I mean, earning a bachelor's degree is a big deal, so it called for some festivities. At our house, we all sat down together to eat some food, catch up, and just talk about her plans now that she's done with school. And as you probably guessed, one of the questions that came up is what she planned to do for work now that she had her degree. She talked about a couple of places that she was planning to apply, but she stressed that she didn't want to jump right into it. She had just finished school after all and wanted a break from all the endless nights of studying and doing homework before she thought about jumping into a career. Her current plan was to work part-time for a little while she figured out what her next steps were going to be and while she prepared for the 40-hour work week that lies ahead. And honestly, I love this answer because it made me realize something about myself that I haven't been able to stop thinking about. Before I graduated college, the company that I'd been interning at offered me a full-time position, which, as a broke college student finally wanting to make some money, I accepted. But what I think as well is that my ceremony was on a Saturday, and by Monday, just 2 days later, I started working full-time. I never really gave myself a chance to figure out where I wanted to work or if HR, the field that I'm working in, is something that I really even wanted to do. I had a well-paying job basically guaranteed to me, so the thought was good money and I get to skip all of the bullshit that comes with interviewing. It would have been stupid to say no. At least that was my thought process back then. So I started working full-time just 2 days after graduating college, and I haven't stopped since. In fact, I've hardly even taken any real time off except for a Friday here and there for like an extended weekend. I've been working at the same place for 3 years now, and only once have I taken up to a week off. And that was for my honeymoon when I got married. That's insane. Like, saying that out loud blows my mind because it's been 3 years and I've never taken more than a few days off except for once. And even though the job pays well, at this point it's kind of lost its novelty and I'm honestly feeling kind of stuck. It really does feel like being stuck in a time loop where I go to work, come home, work on YouTube, go for a run or something, cook dinner, and then shower and go to sleep only to wake up the next day and do it all over again, all while patiently waiting for the weekend. I'm also kind of in a weird space in my career in which I have 3 years of experience, which is solid, but it's also not quite enough to be competitive in some of the next level positions quite yet. Not that I even want another job or like any job for that matter. So I've thought about things like I could start consulting, but then doubts start kicking in where it's like, damn, 3 years really isn't that much. So is anybody even gonna hire me? Do I have any credibility? And it's stupid because I haven't really tried doing it, so those thoughts have no merit whatsoever, but it's just something that I've been dealing with, you know? Anyway, if you've been following me for any length of time, then you know that working for somebody else at some dead-end job for 40 hours a week was never one of my goals. If this is your first time watching me, now you know, welcome to the club. I'm just not built for that type of work or that type of environment where I'm working for somebody else, you know? Like, I can do it for a length of time if I have to, but long-term, I think it would seriously drive me crazy. Like, I'd lose my mind. As I'm sure many of you know, when you work a regular job, there's just a bunch of procedural and bureaucratic bullshit that you have to deal with on a regular basis. Like, I'm an independent person. I know what my work is. I know what my deadlines are. I don't want to have to wait for someone else to review my work just to say that it's done. And on top of that, I also don't want to get approval from someone else so that I can take a day off whenever I want to. It's really just a world that, when I think about it in my head, it makes zero sense. I actually have a whole video about why I'm not a fan of the 9-to-5 lifestyle, so check that out if you're interested in hearing all the details. But just know that it's not what I ever wanted out of life. For as long as I can remember, I've always wanted to have my own business, you know, be an entrepreneur, build something for myself, just do my own thing. I actually have a notebook that I used to take notes in when I was a kid that I was just teaching myself about money and business. The first book I ever read on the subject was Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I wouldn't say it's like the best business book in the world or anything like that, but it definitely did change my entire perspective on money and what I want to do with my life. All in all, I would say it's a solid introductory book, so I'll link it in the description if any of you want to check it out. Anyway, I read the book when I was 13 years old, and I would write down some of the notes that I found interesting, and I would copy some of the diagrams to help me understand money and cash flow a little better. I was doing that at 13 years old. Most 13-year-olds are worried about pimples, girls, and video games. I mean, those were probably in my mind too, but here I was reading this book about business and taking notes so that I could use them someday. I'm telling you this because I know that where I am now isn't the future that I envisioned for myself 12 years ago. And I'm not saying that to sound like sad or like I let myself down, but I'm just trying to paint a picture of how fast life comes at you. By the time this video comes out, it'll be about 2 months before my 25th birthday. And my desire to own a business, to be an entrepreneur, hasn't gotten any less. If anything, it's stronger than ever. And that's part of why I'm doing YouTube, you know? As a kid, I loved creative outlets. Drawing was and is one of my favorite activities to pass the time. But as I got older, I just started doing it less and less. And I like to think that I got pretty good at it, but life just kind of got in the way. You know, I got busy doing things that weren't creative, but were necessary, like working. But if you were to tell me even a year ago that I'd be posting videos of myself and my thoughts online to try to help and inspire people, I'd probably just laugh and call you crazy, because like, this is something that I never saw myself doing. Which is kind of wild for me to even say, because I feel like at this point, YouTube is so ingrained in me. Like, no matter what I end up doing in life, no matter where my path leads me, I will always do YouTube on the side just to show my journey and offer some advice that I learned along the way. And sure, maybe it's a little different than the drawing I used to do when I was a kid, but it's still very much a creative thing. And I really enjoy the process of making these videos, even if it is hard as shit sometimes. All right. So I am back at home. Let's wrap this up. Okay. I don't want this video to just be you listening to me ramble about life. So if you take anything away from this video, I want it to be this. No matter where you are in life, no matter what you do, lean into the things that interested you as a child. Think about that. Little you had interests, had ideas, had aspirations, long before the world came and corrupted them and made you feel like you couldn't achieve them, all in an effort to break you down and mold you into what they think you should be. The younger version of yourself knew what you wanted, and probably still want, to be honest. And sure, maybe once you get there, it may look a little different. You know, instead of being a professional athlete, maybe you end up becoming a YouTuber that gives play-by-play breakdowns of some of the best matches in history. It's not exactly the same, but it is close enough to make you feel fulfilled and happy. The point is that the desires of your childhood can still lead you to a more fulfilling life than the one you're living now. That's part of why I want to start drawing again. Not to post it anywhere or share it with anyone, but just to simply relive that childhood joy of seeing my sketches come together. Plus, creativity leads to more creativity, so maybe you could even help me come up with stuff for YouTube. That's a win-win with literally no downsides. So yes, life does come at you fast, and it can bring with it lots of changes, but you don't have to let it tear away the things that make you happy. You don't have to let it tear away your hopes and dreams or your desire to achieve them. There's always room to go after what you want. You knew that as a kid because you had no other cares in the world, no other worries, nobody to tell you otherwise. So I want to encourage you to go back to being that kid. Be naive, dare to dream, reignite that childlike sense of hope and wonder. And once you're there, don't ever grow up. And with that, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.